Hi, everyone. It's Vanessa Ray of Light, and a dear friend and client the other day was like, why don't you post big videos anymore with your tips and insights? And I thought about it and I didn't. I don't know why. So I just wanted to share some info with you. And this is about, I like thinking of it as a case of missing a mistaken identity, which we all have in differing ways. And what I mean by that is we form different identities based on what we think of ourselves, what others say to us, what others did say to us, social conditioning, cultural conditioning. We're in a whole bunch of different bubbles, small bubbles and big bubbles, that are kind of telling us who we are. And most of the time, that's really, really off. And in terms of what I'm currently working with women and bodies and our identity with our body and wanting to change how we feel and how we look and how we experience our body, our whole body experience, I thought it would be really important to talk about our body identity, how we think of ourselves. Do we think of ourselves as an overweight person? Do we think of ourselves as someone who never gains weight and it's not an issue? Do we think of ourselves as an overeater? Do we think of ourselves as unattractive? Do we think of ourselves as attractive? A lot of times, so there's the subconscious and the conscious. So sometimes, most of the time, all the time, really, we're not aware of what's subconscious because it's sub our conscious, right? It's underneath and it's pervasive, but it's still creating, it's still vibrating, it is still there. It's like that image of the giant iceberg and the tip is sticking out and the majority of it's underwater. So all the underwater part that you can't see, it's still there, right? You can still crash your Titanic into it and sink your ship. It's still creating your life. It's still part of what has created your life, whether you know it or not. And then there's the conscious. And sometimes our identity, our belief of who we are, how we think of ourselves, what we've created for ourselves and what we've taken on from others and what they've created for us that we've agreed to. Sometimes it's the same and sometimes they're really opposing. So we might find ourselves or know someone who has a conscious belief, oh, I'm worthy. I get to have this. It's possible for me to be healthy. It's possible for me to change my diet. It's possible for me to develop new habits and release weight and feel strong and healthy or free myself of cancer. I believe in the power of thought. But then we look at our life and we have something really different that feels contradictory, incongruent. And it's because of what's in the subconscious that we're not even aware of. And the subconscious has stuff below and beneath what we're conscious of. And it's huge and it's pervasive and it's in the dark. It's out of our awareness. And it can involve soul lessons. It can involve karma. It involves our entire past, however far that past goes, whether you believe in past lives or not, it's our entire past. It can also be our ancestral past. It is what is in our DNA. It is what is in the collective consciousness of human evolution. So it's not just about little personal individual you. It's the whole history of you. So your identity, going back to the idea of a mistaken identity, we think of ourselves a certain way, and that is potentially partially true. Maybe we're incredibly accurate and super, super clear. Chances are we're not, to a degree, right? And we don't always go around truly inhabiting, embodying and remembering, oh, I'm actually just pure potentiality. I get to re-choose. I am creating. I'm at least partial creator of my reality, if not a lot, or if not all. There's a world that I'm responding to, and how I'm responding is going through my lenses. It's going through my ideas. It's going through my belief system that I've just taken as the truth, but it's actually just your lenses, right? So how does this apply when we're thinking of ourselves as a body? We're thinking in this limited, a body is limited in that it's a body. It's here. It's not over there. It's how we think of it, right? It's my body. It's not that body. But then we have an identity with it. My body is gluten intolerant, or my body is a female body, or my body isn't super flexible, or my body is super flexible, or my body is overweight, or my body isn't good enough, or my body is, for, male attention, or my body doesn't compare to this person's body. Like, we have all these things that we're not always aware of that are not really us. The mistaken identity part is who we really are, is source energy, is an energy field, is a consciousness with varying degrees of density, thought, emotion, etheric, the invisible plus the visible plus the very, very dense energy. It's all energy, right? So when we think of ourselves as someone who has a hard time not drinking, or someone who overeats, or someone who has a weight issue, someone who has a compulsive eating issue, or an emotional eating issue, or an insecurity issue, or an anxiety issue, we start identifying with that, and we start solidifying that that's who we are. And this is the mistaken identity piece, is it's not who we are. It's never who we were. It might be something in our current experience, but that's all that it is. But the more we identify with it, think of ourselves as that, introduce ourselves as that, talk about ourselves as that, listen even from that perspective, compare ourselves to others from that perspective, again, consciously and unconsciously, the more we are solidifying and creating that false identity. And the more it becomes harder to make changes when you think of, oh, well, I want to lose weight, or I don't want to be depressed, or I don't want anxiety. And then there's but I am. I want to be free of anxiety. Well, even in that statement, you're claiming anxiety, right? I want to lose weight because I have more weight than I want, right? So there's always the pregnant pause. There's always where is this statement coming from? It's coming from a person who has more weight than they want. It's coming from a person who has more anxiety than they want. It's coming from a person, right, who's lacking the other thing. But what if we remembered the true accurate moment, which is, I'm not going to cling or identify to excess weight, or identify to a food issue, or an alcohol issue, or whatever the issue is. And I'm just creating from like a more empty space, or a more neutral space. Then what's possible changes. So my questions for you, if you're up for the invitation, to move you forward actually into what it is you do want to experience, is, first of all, release the grip on who you've been pretending you are. So even if I have an extra 15 pounds, that's not who I am. If I thought it was who I am, then I'd never be able to lose it. You can't lose who you are, right? So if I think I am overweight, how could I ever not be overweight if I've already just said I am overweight? So I am a person experiencing more weight than I want. Now, all of a sudden, the door is open to experience not that, right? So start thinking about how you actually are identifying with things that you don't want. Do you identify with not enough money? Do you identify with not enough confidence? Do you identify with not enough love in your life? Do you identify with not enough patience? Do you identify with not enough beauty, health, wealth, whatever? Do you identify with, I have too much of this and too little of this? So first of all, release that grip of the lie that that's what you are, because you're not. You're pure potential energy, right? And from the pure potential energy, that realignment of who you really are, now all of a sudden there's possibility for you where there wasn't before. Okay, so first question, how are you identifying? Who do you really mistake yourself to be? And it is a mistake, because unless you're saying I'm pure love and light and pure potential energy, yeah, of course I'm Violet's mom. So in my life experience, I'm momming, right? And I like that identification. That works for me. There's no issues there. There's no suffering at all in that. In fact, it's joy. So I don't need to really look and work on that because it's fine. I might also identify as a singer. So again, there's no pain and suffering in that for me. So it's fine. But look at the places where you're identifying where there is a lack of freedom, self-expression, and joy. So that's what we want to reshift, realign, have a new perspective so that we're aware of the truth, which is the truth is there is some freedom, joy, and self-expression available to you there. So it just needs you to re-identify with the truth, which is you're always at choice to remember who you truly are. So how are you identifying? In what places do you identify where you're suffering? And again, I'm thinking of my ladies and my girls that think of the body image, or how you think of your body, how you relate to your body. Even if you don't have excess weight, there's plenty of people who are suffering in their body that don't have excess weight, right? I just specialize in the excess weight part, but this is for everyone who has any kind of suffering in your life. So pretty much everyone. But how are you identifying? How are you misidentifying? Mistaken identity, a case of mistaken identity. And the next question, and the final question of this, who would I be without that? Because even though we all have issues that we've identified with that are causing us suffering, we've become so freaking comfortable. We're so familiar with it. We're so like, yeah, I'm overweight, but like, that's who I am. No, it's not. But you don't know who you'd be without it. And in fact, your subconscious is freaked out about who you'd be without it. There's a reason. If you are someone who's held on to this identity that you claim you don't like, and maybe you don't like, but you're actually really comfortable with it. You're actually really familiar with it, so much so that you think it's you, but it's not. So there is a part of you, conscious or subconscious or both, that doesn't even know who you'd be without it. Who would I be if I wasn't stressed out about money? Who would I be if I wasn't stressed out about being single or stressed out about being in a relationship? So whatever your issues are, who would you be without them? Who would you be if you weren't putting yourself down? Who would you be if you weren't complaining about your weight? Who would you be if you weren't comparing your body to others? Who would you be if you weren't obsessing over food? Who would you be if you weren't obsessing over weight? You'd be someone else. And the mistake here is thinking that wouldn't be you. Oh, that's not me. None of it's you. Unless you're thinking of, I am just freedom, joy, love, and worth. None of it's you. You're not the overweight body. You're not the underweight body. You're not the perfect body. You're not the workout athlete. That's not who you are. That's just something you've chosen to do with your free will. And if it serves you, keep choosing to do it. But if it's not serving you, which is the conversation we're having, then realize, first of all, it never was you anyway. And that idea of who would I be without this is where you want to head if you're serious about having a life experience without it. So hang out in there as long as you can, breathe into it, think, readjust, viscerally feel it, try to bring it into your body, bring it into your consciousness. Let your imagination go there. Who would I be without blank? Who would I be in that comfortable body? Who would I be at that ideal weight? Who would I be with plenty of money? Who would I be in that loving, supportive, ideal, perfect relationship? And put yourself in there. You don't put yourself in there mentally. Even if you get it externally, it's not going to last long at all because you're so uncomfortable. And the subconscious, its drive is to keep you safe. So if you can't imagine it and hang out there, you're not going to be there, or you're not going to be there long. So we have to go there energetically. We have to go there mentally, go there so that the body can go there, so that you can manifest it in your life and you can let yourself have it. And I want you to have it. I want you to have what you really want. That's what my job is to help you have it. And for my personal life mastery is to continue becoming that for myself, right? Continue teaching by demonstration, which means I have to do it too. And I have to do it first to be able to lead and help and show. And then I can teach and show from my experience. So I have and continue to go there in my body. I continue to claim and recreate that I get to have the body that works for me. And my subconscious is like, yes, okay, good. This is safe. We can have this. This can become the new norm. This can become familiar. So you get to have that too. So the 2 questions for today, recap. Remember, this is about a case of mistaken identity, and to uncover what you've mistaken as yourself, which wasn't yourself. So how have you been identifying? What issues, problems, false limiting beliefs have you been identifying with? So what are those? And then who would I be without this? You know, and the final piece so that you can receive it is, am I willing? I'm willing to give this up. I'm willing. You don't have to know how. You don't have to have all the strength. You don't have to know all the next steps. But just see if you're even willing, or if how much resistance is there. Because it's the good and all that you want, all that we want is already there. It's just our resistance to it. That's the problem. Okay, so that is my message for you. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me know if you have any questions. How are you identifying, falsely identifying? And who would you be without it? And are you willing? Are you willing to give it up so you can have what you want? Okay, Vanessa Ray of Light. I'm on YouTube at Vanessa Ray of Light. I'm on Instagram, Vanessa Ray of Light. Whoopsie. And I have to go.